Are you ready? Are you ready? No. Are you ready to get strange? Woo! Hey guys, what's up? Imurgency. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're here to talk about the long-awaited return of Stranger Things in Stranger Things 4 Volume 1. Stranger Things is one of those shows that really comes and makes its mark whenever it returns to Netflix. Like, you can tell just by the way that Netflix promotes the show, like with it literally being projected on the Empire State Building in New York, with all the different live streams to the cult fan base that we have here. Stranger Things is a big deal and it is back and it is time to talk about it. And boy, is there a lot to talk about, because this first half of the season was crazy. But before we get into anything, if you are new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button for more content like this. I do show reviews, pop culture commentary, trope analyses, the whole nine, anything pop culture and TV related. So make sure you do that. And also make sure to leave a like on this video because it helps out so much with the YouTube algorithm. So I will actually give you a second to do that while I show off my Stranger Things inspired outfit. Wow, it's giving 80s, no? Did you hit the like button yet? Did you like it? Cool. That was a lot because I'm wearing a sweater and it's 80 degrees. But let's talk about Stranger Things 4. First and foremost, I want to say that this season's storytelling, while similar to how Stranger Things normally tells its stories, with like a bunch of storylines all happening at the same time, something about the way they did it this time, mashing up Elle's whole storyline this season with Hopper and Joyce's storyline, with Will and Mike's storyline, with like the general Hawkins crew storyline. Like, chef's kiss, really enjoyed it, really made things seem like they were jumping around a lot so you wouldn't necessarily get bored. But we start off this season with seeing how the characters have grown accustomed to their new lives. Elle, Will, and Jonathan and Joyce are all in California now, living their best life because they had to get out after all of the events that happened in Stranger Things 3. And pretty much everyone else is in Hawkins, starting up school, first year of high school, might I add, and seeing all the misadventures that come with that. Oh, and Hopper is also kind of in Russia getting tortured. But we'll get into that. And the season actually starts off pretty slow. Like, Elle does not have her powers, like she lost her powers at the end of season 3. So it's really just kind of giving like slice of life, like your typical high school show, coming of age type beat, until the strange shit starts happening, you know? And the strange shit in question, I have a lot of opinions on, because on one hand, it's really nice to have a whole season, or at least a whole first half of the season, where the cast sort of has to deal with their own issues without the safety net of like Elle and her powers, because that's kind of refreshing, because it kind of seemed like before, like, oh, as long as Elle was there, people were good. But at the same time, I really just did not understand what was going on with the plot, like what was going on with like the strange shit until the very end of this half. And that kind of made me question a lot of stuff, because like for the first, I want to say 6 episodes, I was kind of like, oh wow, this stuff is kind of scary, but like how does this really play in? Like what's really the point of it all, you know? Like I was really struggling to try and find a connection between Vecna, who is this season's big bad, and the Mind Flayer, and like how those two sort of relate and are both in like the Upside Down. Like I was just really confused because as to like where we're going, just because like the stakes didn't really seem that high for the first 6 episodes in comparison to the previous 3 seasons. But like the catch of the season's villain, Vecna, is that he pretty much preys upon people who are traumatized. So only like the most traumatized high schoolers are really getting picked off by Vecna. And that kind of makes you think like, okay, like that's bad, but like, is that really like world ending, you know? Like it really did seem like for the first 6 episodes, like the stakes just were not really there. Like yes, it is maybe threatening that one of the main characters could be taken over and killed by Vecna because they've all been through like some trauma, but in terms of like the scale of like the whole world, like seasons 1, 2, and 3, like the whole town of Hawkins was at risk, you know? Where this kind of like, oh, this doesn't seem like the main bad guy. And of course we have 2 more episodes coming out in July that are both, I think, 2.5 hours long, which should clear that up. And episode 7 did definitely put things more into perspective with like giving away Vecna's identity and his motives. But for those first 6 episodes, I was like, what is going on? But throughout the season as a whole, I really enjoyed how the characters themselves have remained true to themselves while still allowing growth. Well, most characters, because Mike is still in the show. And like, no offense to all the Mike stans, but what did he do this season? Like, in my opinion, in this first part of season 4, Mike did nothing but be a dick to pretty much everyone he's around, and then just scream and run away. Because let's be honest, after Elle left California, the rest of the cast that were in California, Mike, Will, and Jonathan, and Argyle, which, like, pleasantly enjoy Argyle being part of the cast now. What were they doing? Like, what was their purpose after that? Because they were just, like, so far removed from the plot, and they were trying to find Elle when Elle was pretty much good. Like, Elle is trying to get her powers back, and it seems like she's in good hands and that they're going to basically send her to Hawkins anyway after she gets her powers back. So I'm kind of just like, why are y'all trying to find her? And also, how are y'all going to actually be involved in the plot? Because at this point, they have no idea what's going on in Hawkins, and really all they're doing is fleeing for their lives. So in terms of that storyline, I hope in Volume 2, we get some more things come together more and they have more of a purpose, because I was just left pondering. Although I will say the one thing that was interesting in that group, I didn't want to believe it. Y'all were saying this up and down in my pre-show live for this season, but Byler, Will, and Mike, that prediction in that ship was looking a little bit more realistic this season, one-sidedly, for sure. But let's talk about Will for a second. Will Byers this season, very interesting man. We see him making a painting for someone. We never really see who he's really giving the painting to. He offers to show Mike the painting, but then Mike's kind of like, I don't care, give me Elle. Like, people were saying last season that Will might not be straight because of this scene.
It's not stay with a stupid girl. Elle's not stupid. It's not my fault you don't like girls.
Oh! I don't know about you, but to me that silence was loud as hell.
And honestly, it was kind of giving more this season, because on the first day of school, arguably one of the prettiest people on this show that was cast as like a background character flirts with Will, and Will is kind of just like, please don't touch me. And throughout the season, he's kind of just like oogling Mike. So I'm really not sure what to think here. I'm really not sure. It's definitely not giving the Will is straight, I can tell you that much. But in terms of whether that means that he's gay or bi or possibly even asexual, we don't know. Waiting for the show to confirm that, but something is definitely afoot over there. I feel like I'm jumping all over the place here just because there's so much to talk about, but like 11 this season, 11. At the beginning of the season, I felt so bad for Elle, because that one girl, that one girl, what was her name? Angela? The one blonde girl that had the nerve to pick on Elle for no reason. The one that Elle wonked over the head with a pair of roller skates. That one, Angela, she's not seen the pearly gates. I hate to say it. She's not. Because why was she so aggressive? Why was she picking on Elle for literally nothing? Excuse me. I'm confused. Why are you talking about your dad when we're talking about heroes? Is your dad famous? Like, girl, shut up, please. Like, you have all this energy for what? For what? But overall, I feel like this whole first part of Stranger Things 4 is just giving Elle's backstory and catching us up to why she is the way she is, and honestly just giving her the development that she deserves. Like, the season opens up with Dr. Brenner's perspective on what happens with Elle, where we kind of get a scene where like, oh, maybe Elle's a little crazy. But over the course of Volume 1, we get to really learn more and more behind that story and get to learn that Elle actually went through a lot. She was actually bullied. And the person that actually drove her to really get the full capacity of her powers and ultimately open up a rift to the Upside Down for the first time was one of the workers who turned out to be number one. Number one is in like the first experimented child. And we see how much that's damaged her to the point where she actually blocked out all those memories and thinks of herself as a monster because of her actions and because of all of that. So I'm just like, wow, 11. Millie Bobby Brown this season, spot on, literally spot on. Now I want to jump back into talking about the Hawkins group, because there was just a lot going on there and a lot of thoughts. For one, I want to say that their storyline, I have to say, is either the most or second most interesting storyline out of all of the ones that were happening in Volume 1. If not then it was definitely Elle's. But like I said before, their storyline included like the rise of the new big bad, they were dodging cops, their parents, and pretty much just general hysteria in the town. They introduced a new character, Eddie, who ends up being the town's scapegoat for the murders that are happening due to Vecna. And I want to talk about that for a second, because the way that the town reacted to Eddie really just did a number on me. It did a number on me, because why does the captain of the basketball team, a high school basketball team, suddenly become the preacher of the town and incite this mass hysteria, saying that like the Dungeons and Dragons club at their high school is like a cult and is killing random people, and people just believe that. Like I'm like, how do we get here, for one? And two, where are they? Because it seems like throughout the whole season, that basketball group that Lucas was a part of is like hunting down Eddie, but they actually never do that. They never actually find anyone. And I'm just wondering, like, is this going to happen in volume 2? Like, are they actually going to do something, or are they just going to be talking for this whole time? It just really seems that they're talking a whole lot, creating a bunch of drama, but not really following through with anything. So I'm like, what are y'all really doing? Like, what is your purpose? And another thing that really just got me thinking was the whole thing with Max, because Max really gets a lot of development this season because she is dealing with the loss of Billy from last season, and she ends up being a victim of Vecna, but like not really. And it really just brings me back to this thing I have with Stranger Things where it feels like there are no stakes, really. Because while yes, there are characters that do end up dying, none of them are in the main cast, and none of them really have any impact to the main story. Like the biggest one I can really think of that has a lasting impact is Billy this season for Max, but other than that, like it just seems like they go through things without much consequence, like they're all good at the end of the day. This might not be this kind of show, but I kind of want to see them have to actually suffer something, you know? Like the whole plotline with Max, where Max is literally seconds away from being taken by Vecna. She gets saved. We think that things are gonna go bad with Elle gets saved. Hopper literally has to fight a Demogorgon in Russian prison. He gets saved. Joyce and Murray literally crash a plane. They crash a plane into the Arctic tundra of Russia and walk away with no injuries. They are fine. I'm just kind of like, what is going on? Like, where are the stakes? Like, why? Is anyone in any real sense of danger? Like Steve, for example. Steve gets ripped to shreds basically by these demobats or whatever, and he's just walking in fine. He's like struggling a little bit for a second, and then he's just fine. There are no stakes in this show, and I really do love this show, don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of like, we have some implication, something. Like I thought Elle losing her powers was like something of a consequence, but she's getting those back. Can something stay permanent? Can someone just lose something so they can grow, you know? And that leads me into my predictions for volume 2. That comes out in a little bit over a month. First and foremost, I want some consequences. There's a confirmed season 5 after volume 2. So we know that there's actually time for people to process their loss. So for volume 2, I want some consequences. I want some stakes. I want the group to go through something where they actually have to experience them messing up and losing something for good. And then them spending season 5 actually healing from that, dealing with that, and then growing up to be stronger people. That's first off. And my other prediction that kind of ties along with that, I think that Murray will sacrifice himself. I think Murray will be that person, and he's gonna end up sacrificing himself so that Joyce and Hopper can get back to Hawkins. Just because I can see that playing out. Even though I really love Murray and I love their trio's dynamic, especially this season with them trying to save Hopper, for some reason I just see that going down for him. I also think in volume 2 that Elle is going to get a new power. I don't know what it is, but the way that they're gassing it up in part 1, saying like how Elle is going to get her powers back and she's gonna be stronger than ever, I think that she's getting a new power, or at least some more control over her powers, so maybe she can open up rifts to the Upside Down at will, because now she just does it on accident. And I also think that we're going to get some major development for Nancy, because at the end of this season we find out that Nancy got by Vecna and she's now under Vecna's control. Like I feel like she's either gonna be sacrificed, or I could see her becoming like a battle Nancy. Like like she said herself, like she's strapped up. Like I'm trying to see that be put in action, but I don't know. This next one might be more of a hope than a prediction, but I really do hope that we get to see more context and more weight behind Vecna, or One, and seeing how he directly relates to the Mind Flayer, because they briefly described him as possibly like a general to the Mind Flayer, but as of right now he kind of just seems like a spin-off villain. Like he's bad, but he's not necessarily a big bad, if that makes sense. So if there isn't more to him, then introduce like the bigger big bad than Vecna in part 2. I keep saying this, but I think I really just want to see some stakes. I want to see some higher stakes. And I guess finally my last hope and prediction is that Robin finally gets a girlfriend or is talking to someone, because they alluded to that in the beginning, that she had eyes for this one girl in her band group, but then that kind of just like went away when all the drama starts. Like I want to see Robin happy. I want to see Robin happy. And I guess I also want to see Nancy and Steve back together, because Jonathan is kind of flopping right now. I do predict that there's going to be some mess in that when they all come together. I feel like there's going to be a fight. Who knows? That's neither here nor there. Stranger Things 4 Volume 1 was definitely worth the watch. I did really enjoy it, and I am super duper excited for Volume 2 coming out July 1st. As per usual, I will be back come July to break down and talk about Volume 2, and there will probably be another pre-show live stream the night before there, so keep an eye out for that. But thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video because it helps out a lot. Make sure to follow me on my socials here at Imurgency, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, the whole nine. But other than that, y'all, I've been Imurgency, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.